that
Was this sorry about this? Was this to just young Asian boys or particularly Pakistani Asian boys?
well, in Rotherham we have the majority of the demographics of the BME is Pakistani. And it was just there were a number of instances we were hearing things that the police were dealing with more harshly than perhaps. Well, that was the feeling. And then there were a number of issues of because at the time I had a taxi business, and we felt that all the taxi drivers were being sort of treated guilty before being charged the way the police used to conduct themselves. So we spoke to our ward councillor, who was Councillor Ahmed at the time, and he suggested, look, you need to organise into a group, and we, at his behest, we set up a civil rights group, Rotherham Civil Rights Group. In fact, my colleague on the cabinet, Maroof Hussain, I was the chairman, he was the secretary. So Lord Ahmed obviously helped us set it up, and it was slowly through that I started getting very involved. So we set up meetings with the police and the council. I'd already been a member of the Labour Party while I used to work at British Steel, so I was only part of the organisation, but I wasn't very active. So it was just by accident, to be honest. And then when Lord Ahmed was elevated to the House of Lords by the Labour Party, he was given a peerage by Tony Blair. He asked me that, I think it's about time that you should come into politics, and I refused point blank. I know it's hard for people to believe because, they think, well, everybody wants political office. I didn't. I was very, very reluctant.
Quite happy what you were doing.
Absolutely. And in fact, he waited for about another year while he was a member of the House of Lords, while he stayed as a councillor, because I didn't know the party rules, and so he gave me...
Why did Lord Nazir Ahmed particularly ask you to become a councillor?
I don't really know. I think he probably had something against me, looking back at the work I have to do now. We were very close, and he knew that I was very passionate about the community. I did want to make changes for the better. And so I took his advice. I stood for election my first election was in 2000, and I was successfully elected as a backbench councillor. And then with my mum's prayers and Allah's will, I seem to have reached the dizzy heights of being the deputy leader of Rotherham Borough Council. I'm very humbled by that, and I'll explain why. Because initially the reason that I came into get involved in public life was to represent the young Pakistani people who didn't have a voice, and there were a number of issues with the police and the council. But slowly the transformation has been that in Rotherham we have a population of 252,000 people, out of which the BME is only about 5,000. So over the years, very quickly, I became I distanced myself from being just a BME councillor or a Pakistani councillor. I strive to become a councillor for the whole of my ward.
Sorry about this, but normally our councillors, they go to Pakistani voters and they say, oh, I'm a councillor and the vote there. So well, isn't that the case?
No, I still do that. I still do that because in my own ward, out of the 10,000 electorate, there's only 500 from the Pakistani community. I don't like to call them Pakistani because most of them are second, third generation British now. But there's about 500, so they don't make a huge part of my electorate. But when I go and see them, and alhamdulillah, I do tell them who I am, because as a politician, I will play to my strengths. But the other 9,500 people in my ward, whose support is very crucial to me, they see me as... Actually, it's not very hard. And I know some of my brothers and colleagues throughout the country find this very difficult to differentiate between their religion, their background, their ethnicity, and the role they have. I have never found this difficult at all, because when somebody comes to my surgery, it doesn't matter to me if they are called Mr. Ali or Mr. Smith.
Oh, Mr.
They both get exactly same level of service. In fact, I mean, it's not been easy, last 12 years, but the opportunities have been there. I've risen because, as a deputy leader, you are voted by your peers. You get elected by the electorate as a councillor, and then if you stand for any positions, it's your immediate colleagues, the peers, who actually vote for you, right? And you have to be able to empathise and understand the way of life. And I think part of the success may be because I've worked in the steel industry, I've worked with with the indigenous community all my life, so I do not see a difference. The fact that I am a Muslim, that's first and foremost. I love my heritage. I was born in Kashmir, absolutely love that country, but I am a councillor for everybody in my ward and the deputy leader for all the people of the borough. And I think that is the little bit of a difference that maybe some colleagues in other parts of the country probably are not successful in. I mean, obviously this is down to all the guidance and help and advice from His Lordship. I've probably got the best mentor.
I was just going to say that.
I've probably got the best mentor that we could have in the world.
Right, when we come back from a short break, we will go back to Fiyaz Hussain Shah Sahab. And Jangeer Akhtar Sahab, I've got a lot of questions after